Hello there. Welcome to the show. On this episode, I'm going to talk about 10 moms that I've interviewed who turn their unique passions and giftings into a business. So for those moms trying to figure out how to turn your passions into a business, or maybe you're looking to add another stream of income to an existing business, this episode is for you. I'm going to share 10 success stories of moms over the last several months that I've interviewed, and hopefully these stories will give you some good ideas or some inspiration. So some of these moms are making 6 and 7 figures and others are side hustles. All are okay. The goal is not just about making a lot of money, but it's using your passion, your purpose, your impact to help other people and find fulfillment in the process. So I hope this episode blesses you. Let's get into it. Welcome to MOMetize Your Passion, a place for moms with big dreams and an eagerness to turn them into a thriving reality. Whether you're a mother looking to monetize your talents, transition from a stagnant job, or explore a fun side hustle, you're in the right place. I'm Caroline, wife, mother, and the visionary behind Tinseltown Mom, a platform dedicated to helping moms to embrace and pursue their God-given dreams. After interviewing nearly 100 celebrities for my platform, one common theme stands out in their success stories: passion. As a former actress, current writer, celebrity blogger, and certified life coach, passion has always been at the core of my journey. And through it all, I've discovered the power of honing our gifts, learning from our past, and using our experiences to uplift others. Join me on the show as I explore stories of celebrity moms and successful mompreneurs, uncovering the roadmap to their accomplishments. I'll also be sharing business and marketing tips to guide you towards tangible ideas for making money. Here, my hope is that you'll find inspiration from God, encouragement, and practical insights to MOMetize your passion. All right, so I'm going to be sharing some of my top episodes where moms have monetized their unique gifts, their passions, their purpose, and their challenges. And I'm going to share a little clip, but in the show notes, there'll be the full episode for you to refer to. All right, let's get into it. So on episode number 86, I spoke with Dylan Jarvis. She was a mom who started selling products on Etsy, and she had pretty immediate success. And now she's teaching other women how to make money from Etsy. So take a listen to this clip.
I was interviewing, I was applying to probably about 24 places. I interviewed at the zoo, like the San Diego Zoo. And I was just desperate. So I was dog walking. I was doing all these side hustles, house sitting, just trying to find some purpose. And I was really lost, but I was only 26. Like, that's way too early to feel like your career's over. Yeah. So I worked really hard on getting a job. And then in the meantime, I just listed something on Etsy that we made for our wedding. I didn't think of anything of it. It was just a little decoration. And 2 months later, it sold. And it was like right before we left for our honeymoon. And I thought, now what? This thing sold. It was just a picture from our wedding. Now I have to figure out how to actually make it and ship it. So that's how Etsy started. It was totally unintentional.
Wow. So
yeah.
One item, you just had one item for sale, and that's what started it all.
That's what started it all. Yeah. And then we had listings of that item doing over $100,000 per listing
For that one
later.
listing?
So for the one item, we had multiple listings of it. It was a floral item that was kind of related to our last name. So fake flowers. So basically that was right after the wedding. We got a sale. I'm still doing all these job interviews. I finally get a job offer from Petco headquarters. But by that time, I had my first $1,000 day. And I had this job offer. I have this Etsy business that's like kind of taking off. The job offer was like, it was like 110 grand. And that time that was like pretty good.
During that time, that's still good for a lot of people.
Yeah, it is. So I had to make a decision and I was just praying about it. Like, God, give me a sign, because it's my head says I should take this job.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't really want to.
Yeah.
And so that $1,000 day was my sign. Also, the same week, we found out we were pregnant with our first baby. So,
wow.
Big sign.
So in episode 89, I spoke with a mom named Nicole, who was a nurse and a homeschooling mom of 6. She was gifted in helping other nurses pass various exams through tutoring, and she turned that into a six-figure business. So go ahead and take a listen.
So I made the hard decision to quit my job when I was about 7 or 8 weeks pregnant. We had our baby, but a coworker of mine told me about a work from home opportunity, still in nursing, same hospital I'd been working for, but doing phone triage, like after hours phone triage. So working nights and weekends and holidays, and all the times you don't really want to work, but it makes up for it because you get to work from home. I did not get that job the first time I applied, but they remembered me and called me back about 6 months later. So when my son was about 6 months old, and asked if I was still interested, which I was. And so I did end up getting that job. And I started working I worked it for about a year. And that's when during the time that I decided to start Your Nursing Tutor, because I had been working as a peer tutor while I was in nursing school. Just because I've always kind of been strong academically, and I was doing well in nursing school, and I was helping naturally just I gravitate towards teaching. It's just kind of like my skill set. So, and I love doing it. And I had been doing that for my classmates, and instructors noticed. And so they invited me to be the peer tutor. And after I graduated, a lot of the students in the program continued calling me just from word of mouth, and because there was nobody to replace me. So they had no tutors available after I left. And there was a few people I ended up continuing working with just because, I liked them. I had been working with them when I was a student, and I felt bad they didn't have any additional help. And it just got this question in my mind that obviously nursing students need help. Like, what is going on with nursing education that so many students, they're hardworking, they're not lazy, they're looking for help, but they're not finding the kind of help that they need. What is going on? And is this a problem I can solve? And so that was just the question that birthed Your Nursing Tutor. My husband I had some background with a little bit of computer science. I minored in that when I was in college and things like that. So I was comfortable with technology. My husband, however, he's a computer engineer, self-taught computer programmer, web design, all the things. So he was able to help me build a website pretty quickly. Back when it still had to be hard coded with HTML before WordPress and things like that. And I launched Your Nursing Tutor.
So on episode 92, I spoke with Whitney Bonds, a pastor's wife and mom of 3 who left corporate America to stay home for her kids. In the process, she was trying to find something to do to bring in money to her household, and she discovered blogging. So take a listen to how she made 6 figures within her first 2 years.
And I woke up with the idea to just reach out to work from home moms and ask them, what do they do? How do they get started? How much do they make? And how do they do it at home with kids? So I was like, okay, that's it. I'm going to start a blog about that. And I still had the issue though, how do you find these moms? Like, that was the reason why I was so frustrated in the first place. But then it's like, I knew it was from God. So I'm like, it's going to work. I don't know how, but this is what I'm going to do. And one day I am like just in a Facebook group and just reading the threads, it's a mom Facebook group. And then I saw this woman post. She said she was a podcaster, and she said, I'm doing a podcast interviewing some successful moms. Can you guys, whoever has a successful job or story to tell, put what you do in the comment section and your email address. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this is my content right here.
Yeah.
So I reached out to those moms. I told them I wanted to create a website to share their stories for moms like me, looking for ways to make money from home. And they answered. They all said, okay, sure. And they didn't know who I was. And one of the things that I was asking was like, how much do you make? And they still shared that. So I was like, this is awesome. So I have now all this great content, and I created a website. I had no idea how to create a website. I didn't know how to do any of this stuff. I just Google, YouTube, and God. It was just like putting things together.
Google, YouTube, and God. I like that.
Right. I was trying to figure everything out on my own. I didn't have a course or anything. And I was just, it was so many times I just wanted to quit. Cause I was stuck on my website for 3 days on one problem. So I'm like, if I can't get past this, like, how am I going to do this? So anyway, long story short, I created a website. I have it all together. And then it's like cricket. So The bloggers that I found out that were making $100,000 per month, they were using SEO, which is search engine optimization, and which is basically, I like to say, it's just you're answering people's questions so when you go to Google, I like to say it like this: you ask a question, you're looking for an answer. What shows up in the search results are blog articles. So I found out how to find out what people are actually asking Google, and then I write articles answering their questions in a certain way for it to rank on Google. So
Right.
that's me. That's what search engine optimization is. You're trying to optimize the search engine towards your blog articles so you'll get found in the search results.
Right.
And I had no idea what that was. It was Greek to me. I didn't know what it was, and I didn't want to learn it, but I knew if I wanted to get this consistent traffic and really just be a mom and be there for my kids, then I would have to learn it. And I did that, and that is really what catapulted my blog to the next year. Because I only made $5,000 my first year blogging. And then the next year, after I learned SEO in June 2018, and I was just implementing the stuff. I want to say too, Google is a long game. It does not happen overnight. I always tell people it can take 6 months to a year. It could be a lot faster than that, but I like to let your expectations to be that it can take a long time before you start ranking. But my blog blew up the very next year, and I made like over $200,000.
On episode number 94, I spoke with Becky Beach, a bipolar mom who refused to let her mental illness stop her success. Becky had so many gifts. One of them was being able to focus and concentrate, and she used that gift to start creating digital products. And she has since grown her business. She's making 7 figures, and she's doing this all online. Take a listen.
Oh, well, I was making like just $100 a month when I was working at the 7-Eleven job. I was making like $100 a month, and my friends and family were laughing at me and telling me, "Oh, you got to quit. You're going to focus on your job, because you're going to get fired again. So you really got to focus." So I said, "Oh, okay, I'll just keep on." I was going to quit, but then something inside me, I was like, "Oh, I can't quit. I got to keep on doing this." So I just studied even more. And then I was able to get lots of traffic during COVID, because then COVID hit. And my blog was all about work from home content, making money, saving money. And that was really popular, extremely popular. I started getting 250,000 page views a month.
Wow.
And then I got into ad network, and I started making just $5,000 from ads alone. And then I started selling printables on my blog. Like I sold printable planners and journals, and I sold financial spreadsheets. And then soon I was making like $10,000 a month from that. And I said, wow, I'm onto something here. I got to, quit this job, because look at all the money I'm making. And I was able to work from home, because it was COVID and the office was closed. And plus my child was home from daycare. I had to watch him. I'm in the middle of my living room. This is my dining room over here, and my living room over here. So I'm kind of in the middle. My office is in the middle, so I could watch my son. My office is still here. And I would watch my son on the couch, during COVID, so I was like, gosh, I just got to quit this job. But my boss wouldn't let me quit, because, he said, we laid off 30% of the workforce, so he needs you. We can't have you quit your job, as at American Airlines. So I said, oh, okay, well, I'll stay with this, a few months more. But then I said, oh, I got to quit. So I eventually just said, hey, I got to quit. I have another position lined up. Doing this 2 years now, full time, like a year, because I got so much traffic. Because when you get an influx of traffic like that, because all my content was targeted to working from home and making money, and people wanted to do that during COVID. They all wanted to work from home, and my blog was coming up number 1 on the first page of Google, for a lot of my content, and it was just the traffic was going through the roof. And like one day, I got 1 million in one day, because Google featured one of my blog posts on passive income.
Wow!
Got like this app, and they featured me in the app. And I got so much traffic, and I was like, oh, I wish I would have monetized that blog post. So then like the next day I put in like a product, but by then my blog post was gone from the app. So I didn't really get much. I didn't really get much money from that product. So now I put products in all my blog posts, and I put email opt-in forms, and that redirect to a sales page in all my blog posts. So my blog is making me money 24/7. It's like a salesperson that's working for me without being paid,
On episode number 102, I spoke with Jane Havens, a mom who was gifted in getting her kids to sleep. She was also skilled in helping them to sleep through the night. And as a mom, I'm sure you realize that that is something that most moms are looking for. And she eventually turned it into a business. So she's not only helping moms get their kids to sleep at night, but she's now helping them start their own sleep consulting business. Take a listen.
Years I was doing it as a hobby. Didn't even occur to me that this could be a business. My son was born in 2012. And really from like the time he was born and I implemented sleep training at 4 months for him, all the way through, my daughter was born in 2016 and I didn't even start my business until 2018. So like for probably 5 to 6 years, I was just helping mostly friends, but it was also people who reached out to me because it was like friends of friends. So people that I didn't really know personally. And I didn't have a formal process. I wasn't writing them sleep plans. I would get onto a phone call with them, talk them through it, and then they could text me and I would answer questions and help them through the actual process. So I didn't have systems in place, but I was just sharing my knowledge.
That was so generous of you.
Honestly, I loved it. Honestly, I really, truly loved it. And I still do because, sleep training really does position a family to thrive. Parents come to me now, like in my business, I always say they come to me sort of like swirling the drain sometimes, like they're at rock bottom. They are not thriving at all. A lot of the time there's resentment in their marriage because they're not on the same page about how to handle sleep overnight. Maybe one parent is carrying the entire burden while the other parent is sleeping peacefully. The parent who's up all night is resenting their child who's keeping them up all night. It really does. It impacts the family dynamic. And in a couple of short days or a couple of short weeks, I can really turn it around for them. And I thrive on that. It never gets old. I mean, I've been doing it for so long. And every single time when I get those text messages, Benny slept through the night last night for the first time ever. That's good stuff right there.
Yeah. So now that you have this experience under your belt, now you're thinking, okay, now I need to turn this into a business. Like, what is the first step that you took when you realized this?
Yeah. So I just went online and I Googled like sleep consultant certification program and I enrolled in a program that was online, self-paced. I chose it because it was relatively reasonably priced and it was all online. I didn't need to fly out of town to take a training. I wasn't in the position to leave my family to go get trained to do this work. So I took an online course, got certified, and set up an LLC and had somebody make me a beautiful website and really just started talking about my business. Luckily, I have really, really supportive friends and family, and I have a whole social network of people who are really behind me, and they all shared my name. Some of my first clients were like my husband's coworker's granddaughter or something like that, you know? So really it was like my own network that shared my name and my website, and people just like spread the love. And that's how I was able to grow a business.
So on episode number 110, I spoke with Devin Ricks, who is a mom who had a passion for gaming. So she's been gaming for her whole life, pretty much, according to her. And she used that passion to start helping kids game online successfully. And now she teaches kids how to game online. And she's made a very lucrative business from that. So take a listen.
I've always been like a serial side hustler, I guess is a good way to put it. I've done tons of side hustles, but my most recent one before I started with teaching the video game classes was I was teaching children in China how to speak English. Some of your viewers may have heard of VIP Kid, and you would log on at 4:00 in the morning and speak English to these kids in China and teach them how to speak English. And so when I was pregnant with my fourth daughter, I couldn't do those early mornings anymore, but I still really wanted to have a business and contribute to our family financially. And I discovered OutSchool, which is the platform I teach on, and most of their students are US based. And I started by teaching Spanish classes classes because I speak Spanish. And then it evolved into teaching writing classes, and they were writing classes about video games. And then my students were like, well, Miss Devin, I really need help in my video game. I'm stuck on this level. I don't know what to do. And so I was like, okay, I'll make some social clubs. And then my social clubs took over. And now that's all that we do, are social clubs and just gaming classes for kids.
That's so awesome. So for those who are unaware, I only heard of OutSchool because of you. What is OutSchool and what can you do on that platform?
OutSchool is the most amazing resource for all moms out there. Seriously, if you have not looked at OutSchool, please go look. Like, you will love it, everything about it, because it's this platform of classes for children ages 3 to 18. And when I say classes, it's a very loose term, right? There is a teacher who is teaching their passion. That is what it's all about. So you'll find teachers who are doing your traditional things like English and math and science, but you'll also find teachers like me who are doing gaming or Dungeons and Dragons. And then you also find other hobby teachers that are teaching like video editing or coding. I even have a friend who has a babysitting teaching class. So she teaches kids how to be better babysitters, or there's like dinosaur classes and circle times for preschoolers. So OutSchool seriously is the most amazing resource. A lot of homeschool parents use it to supplement their homeschooling, but it's for everyone. You can teach anything on OutSchool. So the biggest caveat is if it's something that's a little bit more subject intensive, right? If you're talking about hard sciences or nutrition and diet or exercise, those kinds of things, they do require a little bit more certification. They're like, okay, are you really a nutritionist or do you just like apples? You know, but for most things, it really is following your passion. So I personally, I do not have a teaching degree. I got my degree in English and creative writing, and I'm able to teach whatever subjects I feel I can teach best to my students. And so it's really amazing because you can follow those passions. They really want you to teach things that you love. There's lots of like crocheting classes and cooking classes. And it's not that you have to have a culinary degree or anything like that. It's like, what do you love? Teach it to the next generation.
All right. So in episode number 112, I spoke with Hannah Williams, who worked for BuzzFeed for several years, and she decided to transition her skills and her passions into becoming a full-time content creator or influencer. So now she's creating content online and she loves it, and that's her full-time business. So take a listen.
Consistency is key. Really staying true and authentic to yourself is the most important. They don't like when someone seems fake or someone is pretending. So really look at yourself, your interests. What do you want to contribute? What do you want to achieve? For me, it's I want to make moms smile. I want to make motherhood feel normal instead of this crazy high standard of everyone has to be perfect. And so that's what I really am always keeping at the core when I'm ideating content is this true to me? Is this true to what I want to do with my platforms? And I think that is honestly the one thing that helped me succeed was just always keeping it so real and not putting on a show, because I never sought out being a content creator. I never wanted to do this. It just kind of came to me and it was a big surprise. So that's how I think it was just spontaneous, and that it worked for me. So I think it would work for anybody else.
Yeah. So what kind of content would you say, let's say a mom, she's not sure what type of content she should put out. Do you have any recommendations there?
I mean, I started by telling stories about funny things my kids had done and just funny universal truths about parenthood. So definitely speaking to the universal truths of motherhood or parenthood or being around kids is something that really resonates with everybody. I just recently started doing some videos about my husband's beige flags that are just
I saw that.
Quirks.
That was hilarious.
They're definitely resonating with people, and a lot of people can relate to that. So I always try to look for the funny and the fun, even in stressful situations. And I think those moments are the ones that definitely attract the most viewers. Also, if you're passionate about cooking or organizing or styling in your home, like whatever it is you're passionate about, as it doesn't have to be typical mom stuff. Even it can be, what are you outside of motherhood? those always, I think, translate the most on the internet because you're passionate about it. You're speaking very authentically about it, and that will attract more viewers.
All right. So in episode number 114, Emily Spiegelmeier talks about how her husband's porn-filled infidelity wrecked her marriage to the point of she didn't know where to turn. But eventually she sought help. They sought help together, and now their marriage is better than ever. And her husband together are helping other couples who are going through a similar challenge. So take a listen to this powerful story.
Yeah, it's interesting because when we went to the disclosure, which took 4 hours, he went in front of our pastor and told him and me the whole story. He told us that it was going to take a couple of years. And I was just like, what? No, I don't want to be in this for 2 years, you know?
Yeah.
And then even later after our intensive and things started going, pretty well and we were working hard, I was like, no, we can do this in a year. No big deal, But it took about 2 years really to get to a place. And right before our that 2-year mark, we did have a vow renewal ceremony. And that was really it kind of like was the moment where I felt, okay, this is a brand new marriage now. We've recommitted ourselves. It's a clean slate. We're moving forward. And I feel like the healing has taken place. Not to say that there's not more healing that goes on after. And there's triggers that come up and there's, different issues that come up along the way that we have to deal with. But for the big enchilada, I guess you would say, it took about 2 years.
Right. And during this time, didn't you have your own business? You had a nutrition business, right? During these couple of years?
Yes, I had a nutrition business for about 20 years at that point. And, when this happened, I really lost my confidence, Tiralon. I just felt like I wanted to hide, from the world. I didn't want to see people. I didn't even want to go to church. I just felt so broken and just felt like everything that I had believed about my life was not true. Everything that I thought was good maybe wasn't. And so I didn't have any confidence in myself to go out and do this job that I had loved for so long. It was a network marketing job and I was coaching people with nutrition and representing a company, a worldwide company. And I just pretty much let it all go. I kept in touch with my current customers, but I did not work on my business. I didn't build it. I just kind of let it go. And we kind of hunkered down for quite a while and just worked on our healing and recovery. Fortunately, our kids were grown and out of the house. So we did, and he is self-employed. So we had that flexibility. And I know not everybody has that opportunity, but God has a way of making a way. Whatever your situation is, he can help you to move forward if you want to move forward.
Yeah. Now, during that time, were you thinking of things maybe in the back of your head, like, oh, maybe I could do this when I'm ready? Or like, did you have any passions brewing that you were thinking that you wanted to do?
Well, I knew that someday we would be telling our story, but, I considered it maybe like in small groups at church or standing in front of the congregation to tell them the story. That was about the extent of it. But I really was feeling for my husband. He was pretty destroyed. And, as we were healing, I felt like, I want to take over and kind of retire him. He's been in landscaping for 25 years and his body was starting to hurt. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to do something where I can make enough money to just retire him and we could stay home together and, work on our little farm. We bought 5 acres after this happened. And, we have animals and we just love being on our property. And so I just had this pie in the sky idea that I would go online and look for something, which I did. I went to the internet and I found some courses on affiliate marketing and knowledge courses and things like that. So I kind of dove into that and spent a year learning and trying to build a business that way. And it just wasn't connecting. I was just skipping around from niche to niche going, okay, what is it that I really want to say to people? What is it that I want to offer people? And I just didn't feel good about any of it. And I didn't really feel good about being on social media every single day either. That was draining me. And so God dropped this podcast thing right in our laps. And as soon as I heard about podcasting, which I never knew about anything about podcasting before, I didn't even listen to podcasts, but I was like, oh my gosh, I think this is what God wants us to do to tell our story. And we just started our coaching practice back at the end of the year. So we're still working on, getting full with clients. And so when that happens, we'll be able to both retire from our other careers and work on this full time.
So on episode number 120, I spoke with Casey Morris, who went from the classroom to a 7-figure educator, teaching other educators how to make money online. And she started off just selling her lesson plans online, and that business just grew and grew and grew. So take a listen to her episode.
And so listening to people like Amy Porterfield and Pat Flynn and Jenna Kutcher and listening to a lot of books over the years, it was like, okay, I am worthy of more than this. And so that's when the idea of, I wonder if I could just make some extra money online and see if I could light myself up again as a teacher in the classroom, not with any hopes of leaving the classroom at that time. And it just turned into what it is. And so I continued to do that from 2013 until 2018, which is when I left the classroom to do this full time.
Wow. So the impetus was you just wanting to make more money, and then it kind of did it grow into some sort of passion when you started doing your own thing? Is that how that happened?
It did. I'm very competitive by nature. And so when I made $50 my first month, I was like, ooh, like I wonder what I could do the next month and then the next month. And so it was a challenge for me, and it inadvertently was helping me be a much better teacher because I was challenged to make better lessons and to find more, activities that were fun for my students. And the more I put into it, the more I got from it financially, but also from my own students in the classroom. And so that's kind of how everything started and the ball got to rolling. And it wasn't until year 3 when everything really changed for us, for myself with the business. And I started understanding search engine optimization and things like that. And my business grew radically in a very short amount of time when I realized, wow, I may have something I can do where this is a full-time job.
Wow. So within those 3 years, you weren't at that time teaching other teachers. You were actually selling your lesson plans and making all this money online. That's what you were doing.
Yeah, I didn't start helping teachers until 2018. So I did it for 5 years by myself, just selling my lesson plans by myself before I created an online course.
Wow. Okay. So for the first 3 years, you sold your material online. And then I believe I think I heard you on one of your shows saying that's when you transitioned and you left the classroom after year 3. And then you were selling your lesson plans, making 6 figures. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I started selling my lesson plans on Teachers Pay Teachers in 2013. In year 3, 2016-ish, I started making over $100,000 a year just selling my lesson plans online. And so that was my goal, is if I can do that and I can recreate the magic one more time, I will leave the classroom. And so I waited 2 more years before I had the guts to finally do it. And I left the classroom in January of 2018. And in November, I decided to answer the number one question people ask me in Walmart is like, Casey, you left the classroom. You must be struggling financially. How are you making ends meet? You seem so happy. And I was like, no, it's great. Like I should teach you. I should show you how to do this. And at that time, my YouTube channel had really taken off where I was already doing this. I had already been helping teachers for the past couple of years through my YouTube channel for free. And so that was kind of the catalyst too for how a lot of people knew who I was and how they found me.
So lastly, on episode number 122, I spoke with Megan Rogers, who talked about her writing passion and how she turned that into self-publishing her own children's book. Megan sold 13,000 copies in 6 months, which is unbelievable. Here she shares her story.
Oh my gosh. You would laugh. I mean, if I told you, if they would have called me, if somebody would have called and been like, look, we're down here on Dixon Road doing a yard sale Saturday morning, 9 to 11. You want to come read to some kids? I'd have been like, yes, I'll be there. Like I've read.
Wait, I'm sorry, Megan. We have to back up. Now, were you doing these bookings all on your own, or did you have or a publicist at that time? You were doing it all on your own?
All on my own. Yeah. And so, tons of schools, sometimes 2 a day, then get 2 in person, then come home to a virtual. I did Christmas corporate events. I did hospital readings, churches, private schools, a lot of virtuals, daycares. We went to we started in October and we went to a bunch of like vendor markets where you have the white booths set up and you sell, did Christmas shows, did parades, did some bookstores. Even the local bookstores had a hard time letting me come in to do the signing. They were like, nobody knows who you are. I'm like, I fully understand that, but I want to do it, and when you start out and you're doing it on your own, you realize you're like, everything comes in $1. So it's like, well, if you want to do your own book signing here, it's $250 or whatever the price is. And you have to go, okay, or you have to say, I can't. So I just jumped on everything I could.
Wow.
So by the end of the second season, I was really sick. I had my first kidney stone. I don't know if you've ever had one of those.
I've heard about them. I heard they're very painful.
I was on the way to a reading, full makeup, all the pizzazz, and I caught a kidney stone. I thought I was going into labor with an immaculate conception. And it was so painful. And I mean, I'm in the hospital and they're like, your stone is not going to pass. You have to go to surgery. And I was like, so is it an outpatient? And they're like, well, yeah, but you're not going to be able to drive for a while. You're going to have some pain meds. I was like, so could I make it back to this school before they get out at 3:30? And they're like, no, we're not even going to schedule a surgery for till tomorrow morning. I'm like, let me call the school. My husband was like, slow down, girl. I was like, I can do it.
All right, we've come to the end of another episode. I pray this blessed you. I pray that you were inspired. If you were, I would love to hear from you by way of an encouraging review. As you know, this podcast is meant to be a blessing to mothers, so any encouragement that you can give would be so appreciated. Until next time.